Before we begin today's journey, if you love discovering ancient stories filled with mystery, meaning, and timeless truth, you're in the right place. Welcome to Ink in a Blink, where powerful stories are told, one page at a time. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for weekly deep dives into the world's most profound texts, from sacred scripture to classic literature. Now, let's step back, into the desert. The sun blazes overhead. A sea of people, men, women, children, march through the scorched wilderness. Their sandals sink into the sand. Their lips crack from thirst. Their stomachs ache from hunger. Just weeks ago, they stood on the shores of the Red Sea, watching God destroy Pharaoh's army. Just weeks ago, they were slaves, and now they are free. But freedom has a price. No walls. No cities and no food. No plan. They walk forward into the unknown, led only by a cloud in the sky, and a promise in their hearts. And then the murmur begins. A whisper that spreads like wildfire.
There's no food! What will we do?
And soon, that whisper becomes a roar. We were better off in Egypt. Imagine that. They would rather be slaves with full stomachs, than free people with empty ones. What happens next is one of the most mysterious and miraculous moments in the entire Bible. God answers their cries not with punishment, but with provision. Every morning, the desert floor will be covered in something strange. White. Flaky. Sweet. Food from the sky. Bread from heaven. But this isn't just about hunger. It's a lesson in trust. A test of obedience. A reflection of the human soul. And today, we're diving deep into the full story, told in Exodus 16, and what it means for all of us walking through deserts of our own. This is not just a tale from the past, this is a message for anyone who has ever doubted, feared, or felt forgotten. So sit back, take a breath. And let Ink in a Blink bring you the story of Bread from Heaven, a story of faith, hunger, and divine provision. After crossing the Red Sea, where God split the waters and drowned Pharaoh's army, the Israelites are full of joy. They sing the famous song of Moses, praising God for their deliverance. But that joy is short-lived. Just 3 days into the desert, the reality hits: they have no water. They find a spring at Manna, but the water is bitter. God miraculously purifies it, but the people's hearts are already shaken. From Manna, they travel to Elim, a paradise of 12 springs and 70 palm trees. But they can't stay there forever. So they move on, deeper into the wilderness of sin, somewhere between Elim and Mount Sinai. And now, they face the real test: no food. With thousands of mouths to feed, panic sets in. The people begin to grumble against Moses and Aaron. If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. It's a stunning accusation. They've just been rescued, but now, they wish they had died as slaves, just to avoid this suffering. God hears their cries, but instead of rebuking them, he responds with grace. He tells Moses,
"I will rain down bread from heaven for you."
But this miracle comes with rules. Each person is to gather only what they need for the day, no hoarding. On the 6th day, gather double, because on the 7th day, nothing will appear. This isn't just about feeding them, it's a test. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. God is trying to teach discipline, trust, and rhythm, 3 things the Israelites had never known as slaves. The next morning, they awake to a strange sight. A thin layer of dew covers the desert floor. When it dries, it leaves behind thin, flaky white frost. The people stare in confusion and ask, "What is it?" In Hebrew, manhu, which becomes manna. Moses explains, "It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat." They begin to gather, each person collecting an omer, it's about two leaders. Those who gathered much had no extra. Those who gathered little had enough. But some Israelites ignore the rules and try to store leftovers. The next morning, the extra manna is filled with maggots and a foul smell. Others disobey the Sabbath instruction, they go out on the seventh day to collect, and find nothing. This isn't just disobedience, it's fear. They're afraid that God won't show up tomorrow. And fear makes us cling, hoard, and doubt. But God is training their hearts. I will give you what you need, one day at a time. God commands Moses. Take an omer of manna and keep it for the generations to come. They place it in a golden jar, and eventually, that jar would be placed in the Ark of the Covenant, alongside the tablets of the law and Aaron's staff. This was not just food, it was a sacred memory. A testimony to future generations that when the people had nothing, God provided everything. This story isn't just about food. It's about faith in the wilderness. It shows the psychology of a people who were physically free, but still mentally enslaved. They romanticized their past pain because it came with predictability. Freedom came with risk, and they couldn't handle it, at first. Manna was more than bread. It was daily proof that God was there. It was also a discipline, forcing the people to live in the present. No worrying about tomorrow. And no storing up for next week. Just wake up, trust, gather, rest and repeat. Sound familiar? That's exactly what Jesus would later teach. Give us this day our daily bread. Do not worry about tomorrow. The manna in Exodus is a foreshadowing of spiritual truth, the kind that sustains us in all deserts of life. The story of bread from heaven isn't just ancient history. It's a blueprint for survival in hard times. When we're in our own deserts, lost, unsure, anxious, this story reminds us that God sees our hunger, that provision may come in ways we don't expect. And that faith is built, not when everything is full, but when everything feels empty. Manna teaches us that miracles can be small, quiet, and consistent. Not thunderbolts, but daily flakes of grace. So what desert are you walking through right now? What fear is making you hoard, panic, or complain? Maybe, just maybe, there's manna falling all around you, and you just haven't noticed yet. Open your eyes. Gather what you need, trust, rest, and believe that God is still providing, even today. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs hope. Subscribe for more powerful stories from scripture, literature, and history.